Hello, and welcome to a very special show and a happy Mother's Day show, and also a little sneaking in of Cinco de Mayo. The Grapevine Gallery is very excited to have a new artist with us today that I think everyone's going to enjoy, not only getting to know Daniel as a person, but I think this is someone who's really on an upward trend as far as who we're all going to be talking about. We wish we would have collected back when, and this is the time to do that, with Daniel Ants. So Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
For those who are all new to the showgram, or if you have some experience, we're going to talk a little bit here with Daniel about how he got started in art, and then we've prepared some slides, and then you're more than welcome to, excuse me, watch the show again, or you may go onto our website, grapevinegalleryokc.com. Take all the time you want looking at Daniel's work, and just give me a call and we'll have everything shipped right to your front door for Mother's Day. So without further ado, we'll get started. So once again, Daniel, thank you for getting in contact with the Grapevine Gallery and showing with us. And I think I'll just open the floor up now for you to let us know about how you got your start in art, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good. Well, so I started drawing as a little kid, and I guess that's been, I'll betray how old I am by telling you that's been about 30 years ago. And as a pretty young child, there were people that I knew that were, knew how to draw. So I would get them to show me, look at what I've been drawing. And from a very, very early age, I had people that supported me and were willing to give me pointers. And I guess it was probably around 10 years old. There was a friend that started just doing some free watercolor classes for a group of us in the church where we went. And I would say for a long period there, once a week we'd get together. And so at an early age, I was learning some of the basics of the importance of values, composition, design, color theory, just basic drawing skills. We would get outdoors even and do sketching and drawing. And I guess I spent a lot of time doing art. It was something I really enjoyed. In my free time, that might be what I'd pick up if I wasn't playing guitar or something like that. When I was 17, I first took an oil painting class. And before that, I'd done a lot of drawing, a lot of watercolor, but the oil is really connected with me. And I've come to enjoy the texture, the richness, and the way the texture affects the light that actually hits the painting. That's very intriguing to me. So now that was 20 years ago that I got into oil painting. And I would say probably 10 years ago, I really started pursuing it more as a potential career. I think it started, I got a couple of Kevin McPherson's books, and he talked a lot in there about plein aire painting, and that really intrigued me. And so I got serious about it. I had been married for a few years by then, and one thing that was really good is we got a place set up. And before that, it's like when you have to go drag everything out of the closet, try to figure out where everything's at. I don't have enough of this, and it was just a big hassle. We didn't have a ton of space, but we found a little spot in the house. We set up, and having it there, all there, you could just, if you had 15 minutes, you go spend 15 minutes. And then I started getting the setup for painting outdoors. And I would say that was kind of the kickoff point. I started taking some different workshops, started getting input from more professional artists. I live here in Waco, Texas, Clifton, Texas is about 45 minutes from here, which is where some of the cowboy artists like Martin Greeley, Bruce Green, they live out there, as well as others. And I've been able to get one-on-one input from those guys. So they've mentored me. I've done I got a whole library of books. And so I've never gone to any official art school, but it's hard to say I've been self-taught either. It's been I've had a lot of input, but then just doing it. So here we are.
Well, I think a lot like, whether it's a musician's child or an athlete's child, and, certainly with the, input and the influence you've had, with the various artists that you mentioned, that's the best place to learn. You can go to school and sit in a classroom and learn this technique or that technique, but really putting it all together and creating a piece of fine art, I don't think there's a finer education out there than to work with the masters like you've mentioned. So
exactly.
I think you're very blessed in that capacity.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Just more of just that one-on-one connection where you can show what you're doing. And I remember the first time I got with Bruce Green, he said, this is looking good. This is looking good. But we probably looked at a dozen paintings, but there was an overall problem. So you need to fix that. The way you're applying your paint, you need to adjust that. So you go back, and sometimes it takes a little while to really so what is he talking about? But as you do it, you push yourself to, it's like at the moment, you might know that there's further I can go, but what is actually the step that'll take me there? And you might not even understand at first but you start trying to apply what was said, and then you realize you climb up a notch and make a connection again, and you're doing better.
Well, and I think the best thing from what I'm hearing is that, when you put your passion on a canvas, or when you sculpt and you put your passion out there, it's real easy to get defensive and have your feelings hurt when you're trying to express yourself. But the fact that, you were open to that continuing education in art, I think is what's really helped, your work get to a level that I think is very, very good. And I can just see that, you listen to guys like Joe Bowler and some of these other guys who've painted over 50 years, and they say, well, I'm just starting to kind of figure it out. And so I don't think in art, you ever really quit learning from really listening to the artists. So
it's so true. Absolutely.
One thing I'd like to reflect on before we go on to one of our next topics is, you mentioned getting things out of a closet and getting set up and then trying to be set up. What's that been like for you as an artist, where you've made it more of, like if it was a guitar that you put in a case and stuck in the closet, I'm going to tune it and play it, or same thing with an easel and the paints, of just having that to where you can really spend your free time chasing your passion. Do you mind sharing just for a moment with the audience what that's been like, so that they can kind of know what that transition was like?
Exactly. I would say, being newly married, we had a house that, it didn't have a studio per se, but my wife really enjoys my art, and she took a place in her kind of a back room where there's a freezer, kind of a laundry room / storage. And she said, you ought to just set up right here. We put about the size of a little table. And I got at the time, I think it was just a tabletop easel, got that set up there, and got a palette that was permanent, and, a place where my paints are all right on hand, and brushes right where they need to be. So literally you could you didn't have to spend 20 minutes getting things together. You could really just come and paint. If you had 15 minutes, you would get somewhere. You wouldn't feel like you just got things set up and then you got to get back to whatever else you had going. Of course, as I push my art business, I've had to make a living other ways. So you have to find those little times where you can make it work, or else it just doesn't happen. So those 15 minutes, those 30-minute segments, they matter. Even if you got a painting 90% done, just to have it there where I had it, you could see it through the whole house. And I still like that. Where I'm at now, it's a different house, but I still have it set up where I can see the work on my easel behind me, from the kitchen, from the dining room where we sit down and eat. It's there. I like, you get up in the morning, you can see it. So I know a lot of people enjoy more having a studio off somewhere, but I really like having it where I can see it from my main living area. So kind of keeps it before you.
Well, and one nice.
So that was a big. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one nice thing about that is by seeing a piece as it's evolving, you can kind of look at the way the light's hitting it at different times of the day and say, I need to tweak this or tweak that, so that if it goes in a collection, it's going to hang very well all times of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the different lights make a big difference. Yeah. Well, then, of course, in that same time frame, learning the whole setup for the plein air painting, because that's a big deal. Because I like, it's like you're trying to find the simplest way where you can get outdoors and not have this, whole studio collection of stuff to try to lug around with you. So that's been I've enjoyed experimenting with that too, because I'm a woodworker. That's what the other part of my occupation. So I'll get out there and make a post shot box and try to redesign it to make it as efficient as possible. So I've had fun with that as well. And then also hearing other artists, the way they do it, or I've got getting started plein air painting. There were some adventures, and maybe I can talk about some of those, but it's learning to simplify and get things just so. It's a journey.
Well, speaking on that with the plein air, because that's been a big part of, I know what you enjoy is being at the locations and painting plein air. Let's share with everyone, the collectors and the viewers, and when you set up to go out to do plein air, what is your process? And you pick a location and you're excited to go and you get all your supplies put together. Just share with us kind of what that process is, so that everyone knows. I mean, a lot of collectors say, "Oh yeah, plein air. I love plein air." And then, but what is that? I mean, what is the reality of getting your gear together to go out and pick a location?
Yeah.
And just
maybe I'll tell the story the first time I went, and then contrast that to what happened since the way I'm doing it now, because you learn. I remember when I got those Kevin McPherson books, and he really says you need to get outdoors. You need to paint 100 small paintings outdoors, one a day. Spend 30 minutes, and don't worry about finishing it. Just do it. You're gonna, at the end of those 100 paintings, you're gonna see you've come a long ways. So anyway, I went and I took my younger brother, who also has enjoyed art in the past, and then another friend. We decided to go out, and this is in Central Texas. It was on a hot August day. We hadn't had rain in months, and I guess we got inspired to go, so we weren't really thinking about the weather. It was really hot. We went down to the Brazos River, which is right down from where we live, and I had a French easel, got that thing all set up. Most people know what those are. They've got like 50 different little knobs you've got to loosen, and 50 different things that can come loose and make the thing go. They're a little bit of a challenge. People have used them for, I guess, hundreds of years. I don't know when those things were invented, but I got my thing set up. I was more set up than the other guys. One of the other guys was on the ground and ended up getting covered in fire ants. And so I'm about halfway through my painting. I took a few steps back, and a gust of wind came, blows the whole easel face down into the dirt. So I'm picking dirt out of my painting and get things set back up. And then out of nowhere, storm cloud whips up. Lightning starts flashing, thunder. So we're scrambling, trying to get everything put back up. And in the process, my brother gets his palm of his hand smack into his painting. So leaves a handprint in his painting and paint on his hand. but the crazy thing, we got everything packed up, driving away, and the storm basically just disappeared, dropped about 10 drops of rain, enough to chase us away, and that was the end of it. Those guys haven't done much plein air painting since, but that was just the beginning for me. So anyway, I try to keep it where I do it pretty often, especially this time of year in the spring. I like outdoor painting in the fall as well. So I'll keep things in my car. I have in the back of my car, keep a pack that you can basically has got my easel in it. It's not a Frenchie. I just have a little open box M, I think they call them. So it's a mail order place. They make custom easels, and it hooks onto a camera tripod. It's pretty common these days. And then got the amount of paints I need in that, so I can just roll that thing right to wherever I want to go. Set my easel up, squeeze the paints out on my palette, and usually only use 2 brushes or so you don't have much of a way of brushes, and it's pretty simple. So then if I go on a trip, I'll take more stuff to bring along, quite a few panels and places to store them. I've actually made my own boxes for keeping wet paintings, where you can't just, if you throw them all over the car, they'll end up getting smeared and messed up. So I've built boxes you can slide them a number of paintings in and keep them safe. So it's a little bit more you do if you're going on a longer trip. I like going to places like New Mexico. My wife actually grew up in the Los Alamos area of New Mexico, so she has family that's been there. So I spent a lot of time in that area. I love that area, and in other parts of New Mexico, going further north, but also enjoyed going to Arizona, Colorado, Montana, all over the West. So
we'll have to get your plein air gear out here and take you out to the White Sands, or
yeah,
canyons out here, and need to get you out here. Maybe we can get a.
I've been to the White Sands. I've never painted there though. We went there as kids. I think go down and sled down the sand dunes on. Yeah.
Well,
that's beautiful.
We've really enjoyed watching the sunsets out there. It's just breathtaking, and you got to catch it on the right night. But when you do, it's amazing.
Those cool shadows on those white dunes are absolutely beautiful. I still remember it's been a long time, but I would love to go back.
We'll have to set that up. So, well, let's talk before we get into the slides about, what's, besides fire ants and rainstorms, what else is keeping you in art and keeping your passion for painting on location and plein air going so far?
Oh yeah. Going to those places like New Mexico, I absolutely love it. Even if you end up in fire ants and thunderstorms, that's fine. A lot of times if I go on a trip like that, I'll take camping gear. A lot of times I take one of my kids too. I've got 4 children. I love having them with me, or whether it's one of them or sometimes all of them want to come. So we'll just go explore. I remember the first time I went to Canyon de Chelly there in Arizona. We got there right first thing in the morning. I actually drove through the night. Sometimes I do that kind of thing. Got there first thing in the morning, and it had just rained, but then the rain cleared up and the clouds disappeared, and so it's like 8 in the morning, and it's so fresh. I remember coming to the edge of that precipice. This was years ago, and it was like, this is incredible. I mean, you don't realize how far away the other side of the canyon is, except for the blue haze, because it's so big. It looks like it's right there, but that's a ways over there. And just going to these places, experiencing, in the West, the distances, the space, the openness. If you're talking about New Mexico, the dramatic skies. I mean, you probably know. I mean, especially up where my wife grew up, I mean, in the same sky at the same time, you'd have a rainbow, a thunderstorm, then it's totally clear on the other side. Then you'd have uh, a sunset in the middle of it all. It's absolutely dramatic, but it's just, I love getting out and experiencing the outdoors. And even here in Central Texas, it's not as dramatic beauty, but it's a little bit quieter beauty. It's sometimes a little more challenging, but I enjoy that too. The beautiful river, especially this time of year when you've got everything coming to life, the wildflowers, bluebonnets, Indian paintbrushes, Indian evening primroses. There's just a whole array of wildflowers. And so, yeah, I just love getting out and then taking my kids with me. One of my daughters actually loves painting as well, so I'll get her set up as well. She's playing with her acrylics while I paint in oils. And
That must be a lot of fun.
oh yeah, absolutely. She loves it. She really enjoys it. And then the others, they might not paint, but they'll go run around, explore, wade in the river, throw rocks, or climb trees. You never know what. Just to make sure they don't run into a snake or something. Yeah, one time I was painting my daughter. She exploring by the river, found an Indian arrowhead. That was pretty recently. It's like, Dad, what's this? Is this an arrowhead? I'm like, yeah, that's an arrowhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you never know, the ones that don't have a brush in their hand right now, they may be learning value and texture and
Yeah.
and composition, and they might just be exploring their fascination, and maybe one day they put a brush in their hand too. So
Exactly.
you never know. I mean, our daughter
No.
didn't like anything, and then one day she just starts golfing, and now she's tearing up courses. So
Yeah.
as a little kid, she had zero interest in it. So
Mhm.
yeah, you just got to let them kind of do what they do at their own time. And
Exactly. Yeah.
well, I'm going to try to share my screen and see if this works. So I'll apologize to everyone if this isn't working like we want it to. So I'm going to scooch us down here. Are you seeing the shared screen on your end?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Good.
Well, I'm trying to make sure this is working like it needs to get it as big as possible. So here we go. There we go. I'm learning. Well, as everyone knows, we are here with Daniel Lance, and we had a little intro chat. Now we're going to get into his works, and we're going to start off with, as I understand, this is one of your wife's favorites.
Yes.
The river. And
yeah.
let's talk about what drew you to this location and this scene, and just talk a little bit about how you created this piece.
Sure. So that's in Montana. That's the Boulder River. So we were up, it's a little town called, in the area, it's a little town called Big Timber. It's about halfway between Bozeman and Billings, along highway, Interstate 90, I believe it is. So there's a little road that you take out, and it's just a beautiful valley. So the Boulder River flows into the Yellowstone River, which is a much bigger river. And so we were I was up there. I did painting in the area. And that day, I think I was with my family. We were just exploring up and down the river. They were, again, just like I was saying earlier, they were splashing around in the water. But that little scene right there, the thing that drew me to it was the deep blues and greens in the water. It's pretty deep water right there. And actually, behind me from where I'm standing in this picture, that whole river goes a ways and then just completely disappears underground.
Wow.
And then comes back out from under the ground maybe 50 yards later. It's the weirdest deal. It just completely disappears, and there's a whole landmass over it. And then where it comes back out is way further down. So you have to go down this canyon-like thing. When you get at the bottom, there's just this deluge of water coming out of this hole and the rock. So that's where that is. And so that's about 100 yards from where it disappears, and it's about to flow into that area. And it's the deep blues and greens are beautiful with the white water. It was cold water at the time. It was right or very early spring. I think it was April. At that time, you still got a lot of snow melt up there, but it was beautiful. Yeah, and my wife, she really likes that painting.
Like a fascinating place to be. I mean, the way you captured the composition so well, the movement of the water, that the fact that you just can't believe that this will just disappear and then reappear. I mean, we all trust you.
Yeah.
But just to keep the fascination, I can see what drew you to this spot. So
Yeah.
outstanding composition and depth. And I love how you brought the mountains in the background to really show how vast and open this area really is.
Yeah. Yeah, the place is called Natural Bridge. I guess they call it that because of the landmass that goes over the river.
Well, I'm definitely putting it on my bucket list. It looks fascinating. So here's another outstanding one, these yellow cliffs. And this is something for those who haven't been out, in the Southwest, which is really amazing because in the previous piece, some of these mountains that do have the tree lines on them have those greens, but then some of these rock facings are just fascinating because of the way the color. So I'll let you get more into that.
I love that area. That's one of my favorites. I don't know if you might have been there, but if you go up Highway 84 out of Santa Fe, head north through a little town called Abiquiu. Just north of that, there's a resort up there called Ghost Ranch. And right in that area, it is just beautiful. And on the left side of the road, there's a little county road that takes you over to the Chama River. And it's like 13 miles of dirt road, goes back to this monastery way back there. And all along the way, there's those cliffs like that with the layers of color in the rocks, the pinks, whites, yellows, purplish colors. And you go there in the morning, and then later in the day, the light shifts. And I just love the way those shadows and light, the patterns of those shadows and light play together on those cliffs. Then behind you, you've got the Chama River. And I love that area. And
what's fascinating about these rocks too is, there's a day scene here where it's sunny out, you can tell with a little bit of light in the background. But when you get some of those dark clouds when the sun's in a position, and these shadows that just change on the mountain are just fascinating as well.
Exactly. When you get cloud shadows and such, exactly.
Well, I'm a big fan of what you did with the texture in the foreground on this piece. I really think it helps bring the rocks in and just really kind of bring it all together and tie it all in.
I love that. You've got up in that New Mexico area, you got just the different shrubbery on the ground. You get the blues, the yellows. It's all subdued but beautiful. The different.
Well, it's also a fun challenge to get your color wheel out and just how do I capture that color? I mean, it's just can be a lot of fun. Not that I have the talent to do it, but I've talked with y'all enough to know what y'all are up to. Here's another outstanding piece. I'll let you talk more about it. Just incredible depth. The light here is just fascinating and amazing, especially the time of the day where you caught the sun in the foreground and the clouds get that yellow before they go to peach in a sunset. So I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody recognizes where that is. It's the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I was from a trip I took a couple years ago there. Did a lot of little plein air studies as I was along the rim there, and actually did that one back in the studio more recently. I really enjoy painting that canyon as well. Just that there's nothing. The depth, I've never seen anything like it. Is what you can see with the Grand Canyon. And then the layers of depth. You get it turns into just pretty much a hazy blue way back there. but then it gets darker and darker. It's really fun. So playing with those values, and you can pretty much just lay them in like puzzle pieces. And if you get the right value, it'll read. It's quite rewarding. You just start laying in colors at first and get the right values, and poof, it's kind of suddenly you're looking into a three-dimensional space rather than a flat canvas.
Well, you did an
Yeah.
outstanding job of capturing that depth. I think that's what's so great about this piece is you really captured that moment from the south rim with the sunlight and the edge of the rocks picking up the light like you did. I just think it's such a very, very great job on your part. So I've very much have enjoyed working with your art, putting it on the website, and getting our slideshow ready for our talk. I was like, wow, these are really, really great. So I really had a lot of fun. Here's Boulders and Reflections. It's really a neat piece, almost an abstract landscape. So I'll let you talk a little further about that, but it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's a little more closer to home. That's about an hour and a half from where I live. It's the Paluxy River. It's pretty neat there. It's got a limestone riverbed. If the water's low enough, there's dinosaur footprints all in that riverbed. They've got huge ones that are probably 18 inches across, then smaller ones. So that's pretty neat. Then there's just a lot of limestone boulders all along the edge of the river. And I did that. That's an on-location piece. A lot of times my on-location pieces are more studies, but a lot of times they turn out to where I'll put a frame on them as well. And that one was one. You're right. It's kind of abstract. It's the kind of scene you just kind of start laying in values and colors and hope something comes out. And at some point, just bang, oh, it's rocks and water. And that was a lot of fun.
Well, I really like the balance you did by playing with the realism and bringing that shadow down into the water, and then you got the lights and the shadows of the rocks in there, and it just you let your mind wander. It could just be simple boulders, or it could look like it's a little cabin on the river too. I mean, it just kind of what your mind wanders and does. Now, when you're on location and you're doing plein air and you're trying to get those color values, and we've heard over the last two pieces, you say you layered things in. Do you try to block in the scene first and then layer in, or walk us through just real quick how you handle that?
Yeah. I generally tone my canvas first. I think a lot of artists do that. They cut just to kill the white, and then I'll lay in the darks, the shadows, get all those where it feels like they're right. Then you put in the lights, and then that'll often tell you if the shadows are too dark or too light. You might have to go back and adjust those a little bit. That's generally the order I go in. I think it's pretty common. A lot of artists do that. And I use brush and palette knife. I enjoy, once I get to those highlights, I like plastering it on, because when you have those thick lights, when you hang a painting on the wall, the light in the room will reflect off those globs of paint and enhance that feeling of light. So yeah, I do block it in, try to get a sense that it's the right, the values are right, the design, the composition is what I want, and then you can really just start laying in those thicker passages. Then from there, you just put in as much detail as you need. Sometimes you don't need much. A few specks of something here, or a few leaves, or if you get that solid foundation to begin with, then you can kind of see what detail you need.
Well, I love how you use the brush and the palette knife. I think the texture really adds a lot to your composition, and it really makes the pieces even that much better. Well, speaking of layering things in vast open spaces, here's the canyon floor pattern. So looks like you did another blend of palette knife and some brushwork here too to bring this scene to life. So I'll let you talk with the viewers about that.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people don't recognize where that is, but that's the Grand Canyon as well. So kind of a little bit of an unusual perspective of it. But that was on the Kaibab Trail. I think that's the way you say it. It's one of the trails that goes down to the bottom of the canyon. And partway down, I saw that the way those patterns were of shadows and light were playing there on the floor of the canyon. And, you know, that might look like a nice green valley with a few little trenches in it, but those crevices those are probably, you wouldn't want to fall down one of those. Those are deep.
Yeah.
And the Colorado River is down there somewhere. You can't even see it. It's probably one of those. That was first thing in the morning. We got to the trail before the sun rose, and it was absolutely beautiful. Did some painting on the trail, but then brought back a lot of material to work with back at home as well. And yeah, the same thing as that one we saw a minute ago. Just start laying in those values. A lot of times I'll start at the back with something like that. But with this one, when I got forward, I realized I needed to lighten the back further because it was too dark back there. So I went ahead and went back to those back colors and lightened them up. And when you do that, it just pushes the distance out. So sometimes you have to make adjustments.
Well, it is a fantastic adjustment because, you can tell with some values you created the depth right here. And then this back here, I think really helps, obviously this ridge helps as well, but this section right back there just really, really helps lead the eye to understand the depth of what the view was that day. And I think really nicely done.
Thank you.
Very nice piece. And then of course, this Texas Thunderhead, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma boy myself, these are some of my favorites. Just
my.
how little we are when you look up and go, wow, that cloud's really up there.
Yeah, we get some similar weather to you up in Oklahoma. Tornadoes and all. No, but that was just right by my house. The kind of the combination of a huge thunderhead building up and then the sun getting low in the sky about to set and the way it lights up that cloud. I love thunderheads. I love getting out, watching lightning, listening to the thunder as it comes in. I don't know. I've always enjoyed that. I enjoy painting them as well.
Well, what I particularly enjoy about this piece is you can see how you brought in sun rays and the blue values of the sky up here, and then all those color values down below a thunderhead, and you can tell
exactly
it's really building up and it's getting dark and ominous. And I really think the structure and the composition of this one's very, very well done.
Yeah, you got the rain coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That's always fun to watch. And it gets closer and closer until that's what we need right now.
Yeah.
It's dry.
Yeah, I need it out here in New Mexico too. It's wildfires out here right now.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
And here's a scene, the San Miguel Chapel. These are these never get old. I mean, these old churches are just, in and of themselves, they're an art form. And then
absolutely
they're brought into a canvas or a photograph or a print. It's just exceptional. So let's chat a little bit about what brought you to this scene and how you put it together.
That's another, when I go to New Mexico, I always have to go search out some of those places. And that one's actually right in the middle of Santa Fe. It wasn't hard to get to at all. It's right downtown. They say it's actually the oldest standing church in the United States, built by the Spanish in the early to mid 1700s. I just the earth colors and the stucco on those things, and the light and shadow patterns are very intriguing. And contrast that to the deep blue skies and cumulus clouds. It was a striking subject, and I've gone and seen many of those old churches, and even other architecture as well, the old adobe houses, and that's one thing I love about New Mexico. It's very, very intriguing architecture.
Well, you did a great job. It's a very, well done piece, very painterly. And what I like about it is you really nailed this piece in a way where I think I can smell the pinon in the background and the green chili too. I mean, I can't prove it, but I think if we had smell-o-vision, I think you could even smell that in this piece. It's so good. So good job.
Yeah, the green chilies, that's good stuff.
I'll have to get you out here and we'll take a day trip down to Hatch. That's always there's a fresh marketplace down there. If you go and look at the ristros, and they hang from the ceiling to dry, and the reds and the greens just over your head. I mean, almost want to, like the Sistine Chapel, you almost want to just lay down here and artist and just paint like this. Green chilies. It's a fascinating thing to see, and the hoppers are all going, and just the smell, unbelievable.
It's some of the best food. I love going to those restaurants with
just little
chili rellenos and open enchiladas. It's
just nothing special to it, but they are just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's a view from the Syzygy Overlook that's I think exceptional, especially with the lights and the shadows and the depth and textures. So I'll let you talk more, and I'll quit being on Fanagram here and let you talk more about it.
No, that's Canyon de Chelly up in the northeastern corner of Arizona, near Four Corners. There's a spectacular overlooks that all along that canyon. You can go to the edge, and it's just breathtaking. And there's sheer drop offs. You got to be careful. It's like 800 feet, just completely straight. It's not like the Grand Canyon where it kind of goes one, then tapers off, then down again, tapers off. This is just straight down. And that's what I was talking about earlier. You get those, you see the distance in that, and you see that blue haze in on that far canyon wall.
I just captured that right here so well.
That's one of my, besides the places in New Mexico, that's also one of my favorite places. That place is spectacular. I got to go with one of the Navajo, an elderly Navajo guide, spent half a day with him, was driving up and down the bottom of that canyon. That was unforgettable experience. I'm just looking forward to when I can get back.
Well, I can't wait to have you get back there and create some more pieces too, because this is a stunner right here.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the slideshow. For those who are watching the show, if you would like to pause the show at this point and read a little bit about what Daniel wrote here, I've left that on here to share with everyone, as well as we'll have links to the website to read that on his page on our website, as well as look over the pieces all you want. You can enlarge them and zoom in on brush strokes and everything else too. So hopefully everyone enjoys that. But before we go, Daniel, let everybody know, do you have some, besides the show with us for Mother's Day, what else do you have coming up as far as shows and trips, and what's Daniel up to in the future?
Well, as far as trips, we'll have to see. With the West on fire, no rain, and gas prices the way they are, I'm a little reticent to. I want to, but I might need to wait till the fall.
So everybody buy all of Daniel's pieces, because he needs gas money to create more art. So we need to
It's crazy. I usually try to make it out somewhere in that area once a year at least. So we'll be trying to do something like that. But for the moment, I'll probably be close to home. I'll be the Bosque Art Classic. I've been in that show for many years now, and I'll be in that I'll be planning to be in that again this year. Last year, I won the Boren Selvage Award at that show. It's a award that commemorates the artist that used to live in Clifton. He's deceased now. His name is James Boren. He was one of the cowboy artists, one of the early members of that. So anyway, other than that, just more painting. I do a lot of painting in that area here.
I could see with your passion in the Southwest that I think one day you'll probably be a cowboy artist yourself. I mean, I keep doing what you're doing, and I think you'll be a part of a ton of different organizations. So,
well, I appreciate it.
Well, and Daniel, once again, thank you so much for being on with us, and we appreciate your time today. And for everyone else, you may call Clay directly. Not that I'm trying to talk about myself in the third person, but to collect Daniel's work at 405-830-2057. Or you can email me at clay.grapevine@gmail.com. Or you can simply go on our website, grapevinegalleryokc.com, and look further at Daniel's pieces and just get in contact with me, and we'll help add these to your collection. So once again, Daniel, thank you. And we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.